Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make the most powerful probiotic drink that I know of. It is packed with vitamins and minerals, and it has a ton of bacteria and a huge diversity of those bacteria. It's so good for your gut health. In studies, it's been shown to improve symptoms of things like high blood pressure, allergies, osteoporosis, inflammation, gut infections, depression, heart disease, and some forms of cancer. And every day it seems like more research is coming out talking about how healthy this drink is for you. It's cheap and easy to make at home, and my family drinks it every day. So what is this powerhouse probiotic drink? Well, it's milk kefir. So you may have heard of milk kefir. They sell it in grocery stores. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make it at home. It's way more powerful of a probiotic, way better for you, and it's a lot cheaper too. What is milk kefir? Milk kefir is milk. You can use milk from cows, sheep, goats, even camels, and it's been inoculated with a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. And so what you do is you put that milk and that SCOBY together. They're called kefir grains, and you ferment your milk and produce just an amazing probiotic drink. Yogurt has only 1 to 5 different strains of bacteria, and it only has about 6 billion CFU. The typical kefir that you would buy at a store only has about 12 different strains of bacteria and yeast, and generally only has about 20 billion CFUs. 1 cup of homemade milk kefir has up to 60 different strains of bacteria and yeast, and it also has up to 2 trillion colony-forming units. That's the CFUs that you see on the back of most of the probiotics you buy at the store, or any of the kefir or yogurts that you might buy at the store also. All right, so now that you're convinced that kefir is an amazing probiotic drink and you want to start drinking it, I'm going to show you how I make it at home for my family. Let's start with the equipment. A lot of this stuff you might have at home, a couple things you might have to buy to get ready to make your kefir. First is a strainer. You can use a plastic strainer, nylon strainer. Some people will tell you not to use stainless steel strainers, but the metal is supposed to maybe cause some problems with your kefir. I've used stainless steel in the past and never had any problems, but I'm going to go ahead and use plastic. You'll need a bowl that kind of fits your strainer and is big enough to catch the 1 quart of kefir that you're going to be making. Then you'll need a couple of mason jars and some lids for those. There are regular lids that will be used for storing the kefir when you're done and for the second fermentation if you want to do that. I also like to use an airlock lid that keeps any outside bacteria, yeast, or mold from getting into and ruining your kefir. And it also allows the gases to escape as the bacteria producing mostly carbon dioxide. This is a lid that has a little valve on it. It allows air out but doesn't allow any air in. All right, so now that you have all your equipment, let's talk about the ingredients. The main ingredient in kefir is milk. And this is the one place you don't really want to skimp. You want to get a really good, high quality, organic if possible milk. You want to make sure that it's not ultra high temperature pasteurized. From what I've heard, this results in not the best kefir that you can get. So I've never used it, but I use milk from a local dairy that's not high temperature pasteurized. I use whole milk, but you can use skim milk, 1% milk, whatever you want to use. You can even use raw milk if you are comfortable with that and if you have access to that. This is the milk that I'm going to be using. And then the other thing is you have your kefir grains. So kefir grains, it's best if you can get them locally from someone who's already making kefir, maybe a friend or family member who's making it. If you don't have access to that, then Amazon is a great option. I'll leave a link below to some grains that I bought. That's actually the grains that are in my kefir, and I've been using them for months. They work great. It does take maybe 1 or 2 fermentation cycles to get shipped kefir grains to start working better. So that's the only downside. If you can get fresh, you can start making kefir right away. So those are our ingredients, main ingredients. We also, I like to add some flavoring. My family loves strawberry, so after all the kefir is done, I put strawberries and a little bit of sweetener in it, blend it up, and my kids love it. My wife loves it. Everybody drinks it. It makes it super easy to get your kids to drink kefir. So those are the ingredients. Let's go over the steps on how to make kefir. I'm going to be starting this process kind of in the middle. This is what it looks like on a daily basis to make milk kefir. The first time you'll get it, you'll actually start with just the milk and the kefir separate. But this is actually finished kefir right here. You can tell because if you look down in the bottom right here, there's a little bit of separation. So that is the whey separating from the milk. And that means that you're starting to get an acidic environment inside of your fermentation. And that means it's ready to go. So basically all you're going to do is take your kefir, and I'm going to put my lid back on just a little bit. Put this one on. Give it a little shake just to kind of mix things up. And then we're going to pour it into our strainer. And you'll see the grains here when we're done. And as you see, the kefir and the milk fat kind of clog up your strainer. So basically, a lot of people will use a spoon to kind of work it through there. What I like to do is just to kind of give it a shake. And that seems to work. It kind of raises the grains and the milk fat. Okay, and those are kefir grains. There's a little bit of fat in there also, but that's fine. And then in here is just the liquid that's been strained off. And this is kefir right here. So basically what I do is I just take my grains and I put them back into this jar. And I usually use the same jar for 3 or 4 ferments before I clean it, because there's a ton of kefir and probiotics that are stuck to the sides. You don't really want to waste that. Okay, so I'll set that aside for now. So I have my kefir grains in here. It's about a tablespoon. This is where you'll start with if you're doing it for the first time. You put your grains in here, take your milk, and then just go ahead and pour your milk into the jar. So you can fill this up if you want. I usually like to leave a little bit of space because I'm going to add those add-ins later, and I want to make sure that when I do, it doesn't overfill my jar. So that's usually about how much I'm going to put in there. And then we put our airlock lid on top of the kefir. Okay, and now this is ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and set this aside and let it sit for 12 to 24 hours. It depends on the temperature in your room, and it depends on how many grains you're using. Now I have kind of a lot of grains, so this one's probably going to be done a little bit faster. The grains will multiply and start to get bigger, and you'll end up with more of them. At that point, you can take half of them, give them to somebody else so they can make kefir. You can feed them to your dogs. You can eat them. You can use them to fertilize your garden. There's tons of things you can do with the grains. I like to stay on a schedule. We drink about this much every day, so I like to just make this much every day. If you start to get too many grains or it starts to get too warm, the fermentation process will happen a lot faster, and you'll have to kind of slow that down. You can do it with the fridge, or you can do it by taking some of the grains out. Okay, so this is ready to go. I'm going to set it aside in my little fermentation corner over here. All right, so now what we're going to do is take our finished kefir and do a second fermentation. So this is strained. There's no grains in here left. There is a ton of bacteria, so it will continue to ferment if you leave it out at room temperature. All right, so what we have now is basically a finished kefir. And if you've never had kefir before, this is where I would probably advise you to go ahead and flavor it and start drinking it. If you want to add a lot of probiotic power to it, I would set it aside for another 12 to 24 hours like it is with your other fermentations. And it will continue to get more sour and more tangy. If you like that, go ahead and do that. If you want the extra probiotics, do that. If you've never had kefir before and you want to get used to the taste first, then this is a good way to start out. So either way, we can pretend that this is either has been second fermented or not. We're going to go ahead and add the flavors to it now. So for me and my family, we like strawberries. So it's pretty simple. We're just going to go ahead and add, what do I got here? 6 strawberries. They're kind of small strawberries. They're easier to blend up. Stick those in there. And I'm also going to use a little bit of sweetener. You can use regular sugar. You can use a no-calorie sweetener. You can use pretty much whatever you want your family to be having. I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of this stevia in the raw. 1, 2, and 3. All right, put that out of the way. And then I'm going to grab an immersion blender. If you don't have an immersion blender, then you can go ahead and just use a regular blender, whatever you want to do. Careful, this can get messy. All right, so that's pretty much it. This kefir is ready to go. We're just going to go ahead and put a lid on it and stick it in the fridge. It's really good cold. And then it's ready to go. Feed it to your kids, drink it yourself. If you're just getting started with fermented foods and drinking kefir, I would say start with 1 or 2 ounces a day, and then you can kind of ramp that up to more and more as your body gets used to it. If you drink too much right off the bat, you may have some tummy issues. So it's not bad, it's just not super comfortable. So we like to kind of ease our way into it. This is about how much my family drinks in one day. So every night I do this process. I strain the kefir, put some stuff in it, blend it up, put it in the fridge, and in the morning we have our kefir for the day. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions or anything like that, go ahead and leave me a comment or contact me directly. I'd love to help you get started making your own kefir. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it.